Okay, I want to talk about how POC or color cast people have a higher concentration of having lower IQs and how that's not a bad thing because we do live in this caste system, and I think we're tiptoeing around why some of us fall to the bottom of this caste system, and it does have to do with intelligence. The thing is that there are three main types of intelligence, and that is creative intelligence, practical intelligence, and logical intelligence, right? And the system, the universal system, a global caste system, is rigged to be in favor of those with logical intelligence, correct? So people who have creative intelligence or practical intelligence are going to fall to the bottom of that caste system. I say this because there's a lot of color caste people who are always talking about racism and this and that and um, income um, income equality without engaging with the fact that a lot of what dictates income is college attainment. Yet the only people who can get these college degrees typically are people with logical intelligence, even though that doesn't always equate to um, economic contribution as we've seen with this pandemic. A lot of so called essential workers do not have college degrees, yet their jobs take skill, they're hard, and we need them for a running society, which is not always the case for these people with these college degrees. But a lot of times we don't have access to these degrees because we don't have logical intelligence, right? We don't have high IQs. Because if you notice with high IQ tests, they don't test for common sense, they don't test for street smarts, they don't test for athleticism, right? They don't test for intuition, they don't test for creativity. They just test for logical processing, logical thinking, analytical processing, right? Even though there's so many trades and careers and paths that don't take that path and are contributing, that are high demand or that are essential. So I don't think that parents, right, that our caste statuses are the sole reasons for discrimination. Like, I don't think there's racism. I think there is intelligenceism, or whatever word would apply that would apply to that. You can see this intelligenceism when it comes to speaking English. English is a very logical language, right? And you notice that some people struggle with speaking English. They'll talk slowly or seemingly out of order. But these so called smart people, because they have connotated smart with logical intelligence, these so called smart people don't connect the dots and see, let's take people with African associated heritage or DNA, right? Some of us will talk English, will struggle with English, but then our cousins in Africa, our remote relatives in Africa, when they speak their language, it's they can speak it fast. It's in order. It flows. So when we speak this English, that shows that it's the language, right? And that's because A lot of African languages are more abstract languages, which falls under creative, right? Creative intelligence. Do you notice that um, that they're speaking a creative language, a language that's based on creative intelligence, an abstract language? But English is a very logical language, and it's actually a very like inconsistent, messy language. But people with logical intelligence, they just memorize all the inconsistencies and all the nonsense and all like the thousands of rules or lack of rules, right? Like it's not an intuitive language. Like there, and there. That's so unintuitive, right? If you intuitively you would think, okay, well, if that's spelled like that, this is spelled like this, but then it's not. You know what I'm saying? So that's a clear example of intelligenceism, and that is kind of used as a litmus test to give value in society, which which is just wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a lower IQ because everyone has strengths and weaknesses in different things. Do you notice how much creativity comes out of different color cast groups, right? And there's not even a deep reason for this. A lot of color cast people have a concentration of more recent, like indigenous heritage, right? So we focused on more creative and practical endeavors, right? While then we migrated out and then we focused on more agrarian, farming, and scholarly efforts, right? So people who generally have more suburban heritage have a higher IQs. People with more indigenous heritages have more lower IQs, but they have higher practical intelligence. Okay, um, that's like common sense, street smarts, that instinct, right? You know, it's how a lot of people with practical intelligence they can know how to fix a car like this or build a house like that. They didn't go to school to know how to build houses, but they can just build a house like boom. That's part of practical intelligence. Athletic intelligence falls into practical intelligence, right? Because hunting, it's practical. Like if we were hunting animals, if our indigenous originators were hunting animals, we had to have quick agility, reflexes, etc., etc., etc. So, but then that translates into like military and martial arts instructors, yoga instructors, etc., etc., etc. A lot of these like labor jobs, like moving boxes, that takes a intrinsic intelligence, right? Someone who doesn't have that natural athletic intelligence who can injure themselves and that type of thing. So that goes on to show how things are kind of framed in our society. Like these logical types will be like, well, we get paid more because we went to school or we get the training and you guys have menial jobs and that type of thing. But this is very similar to if the Justice League, that superhero team, imagine if the Justice League was paid to be heroes or whatever. And Batman is like, paid the most. And Batman's like, yeah, I'm paid the most because I went through all this training, because Batman did like all this like Zen martial art training type of thing. Yeah, that's the reason I paid the most because I went to like training, schooling, basically, which doesn't make sense. Like, take someone like, I don't know, Aquaman or something. They shouldn't be punished because their intelligence, a lot of part of their intelligence is natural. It just comes natural to them, and that's what it is with a lot of people who have practical intelligence. They just know how to do it, right? So, and then you see all the people with the creative intelligence, how they are kind of exploited or don't not have these, um, or don't have opportunities as well. So I think there is an issue with intelligence discrimination, okay, and that we should honor the different types of intelligence. Some people have more like they were the warriors of the tribe, right? They were the warriors of the tribes. And now when those people are in school, they're being told that they have ADD or ADHD when they just have a different type of intelligence. They're supposed to have this kind of loose focus because they were the hunters or they were the warriors, and a person could become jumping out of the bush with a sword, and that person needs to be on vigilant and alert. It's not normal for them to be memorizing technical information that they have no interest in. Okay, they just have they have high practical intelligence, and these people are bodyguards. There are they work in the military. These are the firemen, right? A lot of defense guardian. They're in the National Guard. Yet a lot of these people end up dropping out of school and getting sucked into the prison industrial complex because they can't jump through this obedience training, rote memorization of our current school system. So the school system should be reformed to just honor different types of intelligences. Okay, there should be paths for people with creative intelligence who are just have this natural affinity for creativity, right? Because they become school dropouts or they're excluded, they end up making all this creative stuff on like TikTok, and then it's just exploited by other people who profit off of it. Okay. Look at and then this is not to say that I said ratios, concentrations. In every population, every intelligence is found. Just for the reasons why I stated, suburban indigenous, there's higher rates. But let's take, there's every type of intelligence over there, every type of over there. There's just different ratios right now, and it's constantly changing and fluid. But look at black identified people. Almost every popular of genre of music originated from black ass people. There's a high concentration of creative intelligence. Of course, black identified people have a lot of people with logical or analytical intelligence, a lot of people with practical intelligence, but there is a higher concentration of people with practical and creative intelligence. People with lower IQs, but let's make tests that measure creative intelligence. They're going to have high CQs, creative intelligence. They're going to have high PQs, practical intelligence, high AQ, high athletic intelligence, high NQ, high intuitive intelligence. Okay? And that applies to all color cast people and all white cast people as well. A lot of the white cast people in poverty are people with practical and creative intelligence. Okay, that's why intelligence, and that shouldn't be the case because the system shouldn't be just discriminating people, pumping them out of prison, but a lot of them should be having higher salaries because a lot of white cast people are essential workers. A lot of color cast people are essential workers. Where's our essential worker money? Where is it? So basically, the system is rigged against for intelligence type. And then you can even look at the different people who have logical intelligence. Let's say some of these, a lot of them are like work in college, they're college teachers. I saw that college professors, lecturers, these lecturers recently went on strike because they're upset that they're being paid like $70,000 to $90,000. College lecturers. So they call our jobs menial and low skill. If you're a college lecturer, you're acting like a parrot. You're going to repeat information that you read over and over and over for years. How is that high skill? How is that not menial? But you're being paid $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. A lot of these classes where you're just memorizing like rote information, basically reading, we could just read it or we could just listen to a recording. So why are you being paid $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 for that? You see how the system is rigged for people with logical intelligence. It's rigged for people who with degrees, which are usually people with logical intelligence. There's all types of vocations and careers that are similar to that. The only reason why they're being paid so much is because the system is rigged. There's this thing called BS jobs where they just create jobs. One of these is have you ever been on Craigslist or something? They're saying there's a study for something. It's like we're doing a study to see how if we send you a text, will that like text reminders to take your drugs or whatever, to take your medication. Okay, they those are manufactured jobs they make for people with logical intelligence. Okay, it's common sense. There doesn't have to be a study. If I send you a text that reminds you to take your medication, will that help you take your medication? Duh. Yes, it doesn't require a study. But they create all these studies to give people who have logical intelligence, who have these degrees, jobs. Okay, or another reason why people with logical intelligence are richer is because the system is corrupt. What other professions do people with logical intelligence go in? Doctors, lawyers. The medical system is corrupt. They get paid so much because we get charged for $200 aspirin and $200,000 for surgeries. Okay? The legal system is corrupt. That's why lawyers make so much. And the financial system is corrupt. But that's just why all these like white collar workers make so much. Our government is corrupt. There's so many government jobs that are just pointless. They basically send emails all day and masturbate to porn on their computers. But they just made up jobs for people with degrees because the system is rigged for people with logical intelligence, with analytical intelligence. So yes, a lot of us do have low IQs, but there's a lot of ways to be smart, and we just have to change the system.